Everyone has something to share, in either wisdom, story, or logic. And it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people, unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils, and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and store of others.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Today we're excited and honored to talk to a natural woman, Lakota and Scott Norse, mama of 3 beautiful, sovereign, unschooled daughters. She does root work, medicine ceremonies, and provide spiritual and physical healing services through her local business, Lily Apothecary. How are you doing today? And a friend of mine as well, Lily Kinkade.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. Well, welcome back. This is the second time that you're here on the Missing Link. Maybe you can start off with telling us about yourself, telling us about your journey, a little bit about your background, your education. Maybe talk a little bit about the water protection stuff that you were a part of. Anything that you wanted to share with the audience here today, especially if they're hearing you here for the first time.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. And I'm really honored to be here. I love you, brother, and I'm really grateful that you're my friend. So my name is Lily Kinkade, and as Jesse said, we have been friends for a long time. We met around during Standing Rock and the Glutathione camps and Bernie and all of these different movements that have kind of shaped a lot of our friendships. We've been through all of these crazy roller coasters that have gone on. This matrix as it's crashing down, and so that's been really fun. So I went to Glutathione in 2016. My soul just felt called to go, and so I did. The first time I went by myself to make sure that I felt like it would be safe for my daughters, because I knew that it was, that there was a lot of violence, and I was already aware of human rights violations and injustices that our people and our tribes have faced, and so I wanted to just check it out first, and it was really crazy. It was like being in a displacement camp or a prisoner of war camp almost, right? On the outer edges of our camp, but then inside it was so beautiful, and it was just everything. And I feel like our elders said that we were lighting fires, in all of our hearts, and the embers would spread to unite all of the people, and I truly believe that it did. And that it was the catalyst for everything, and that this fifth earth awakening, whatever we want to call what is happening now, it helps spur that along, and it helps shift things. And so that's probably one of the most beautiful and important things I've ever done. Everything kind of comes back to that, like the saying, bury my heart at a Glutathione. So anyway, now, as Jesse said, I own Lily's Apothecary and healing services. I make tinctures, herbal soaps. I do a lot of rescue work with animals. So I have a line of pet care products and soaps, flea and tick oils and things. I make, body butters and salves. And I also do remote healing services with energy work and Reiki and tones and different frequencies. So I can kind of mesh that with making personalized products for people after sessions, and that's been really, really fun and beautiful. I found an interview of myself a few years ago that Olivia and I had done an interview for the Indigenous Media Network when we were at Wash Day Camp following Glutathione. It was about, I don't know, maybe 8 months after we left that camp. And so anyway, we were doing a supply run, and then our chairman, Harold Fraser, had asked if we would stay for an honoring ceremony. And so anyway, we were there, and we did this interview, and I had said that I wanted to decolonize, and that the plan was that we were going to find a bus or an RV or something that we could live in and travel, and we were going to continue water protection work and sacred ceremonies and common aid root work with people and communities, And then I had a really crazy situation that, like you have to have a lot of chaos sometimes to give birth to a rising star, a phoenix flame. And so for me, part of mine was that I was almost murdered in my home right after I did that interview. And that was almost 7 years ago. And so I forgot what my mission was. Like, I literally completely forgot that I was even going to do the RV. And I remember now, like, spending so much time looking for them and then kind of giving up on it. But anyway, now it's back and I'm actually in my RV. I feel like I'm in a dream. I never thought that this would happen sometimes. Like, I knew that it would, but also, manifesting is hard and it feels sometimes like just never going to happen. And you're so frustrated. And it's that moment, I think, that's the most magical, when you're so frustrated that you just surrender and then everything is like fixed immediately. So anyway, I'm doing the RV now and decolonizing. We're going to keep our home base. I've kind of established a bit of a homestead. So something I've been really working on, I've been in kind of a hermit phase. I've been doing a lot of reflection and introspection work and things, and learning. Anyway, something that I've been realizing was that I was stuck in my driveway in my RV. I finally had it and I renovated her, and she's amazing. Her name is Chariot, and she's perfect, but I couldn't figure out tires or the mechanical work that needed to be done, and that was really frustrating, because it's really hard to find somebody that will work on a 1988 RV for me and will have parts but won't charge me tons and tons of additional money, or that, because the people that want to help out with things like that generally don't have the tools for something as big as her. And so anyway, I was like feeling really discouraged and just kind of having like a silly toddler tantrum, quite honestly. I do that occasionally in my life. And I hated living here because there's a lot of like shootings and I kind of I live a block away from the projects in North Omaha between these two gangs, and like my street is fine, but like right behind us sucks. And so anyway, I was just like mad and I wanted to leave, and I decided that I was really sick with pneumonia for a while as well, and I decided when I was sick that I was just going to build what I want my house to be. So if I was going to be stuck here, then fine. So I got chickens again and ducks, and we have 2 rabbits. Then those are pets, but then they're babies. When they're bigger, might be meat rabbits for our community if that's something people need. But anyway, and I got that, and I started doing some community homeschool in my yard, like unschool stuff with some of the neighborhood children. There's 4 8-year-olds that they call them the Scooby Gang, and then 3 11-year-olds, and they're all friends, and so they like do stuff sometimes. So I built that, and I just like I'm working to make my house like bearable, and now actually I love it. I've hated it for 2 years, and now I love it. My neighbors wave at me and talk to me. They never did. Like when I first moved here, I was the wrong color, they said, and like I don't believe in crayon colors, but these things happen. And so people didn't like me, and they thought I was weird, and then they thought I was a witch, just because I'm a little eccentric, and I embrace my weird. I love it about me, but I'm a little weird, so it freaked them out. I am not like what they're used to, and oh my god, what's that freaky white witch lady doing? Because I don't identify as like white or whatever, but people call me that, and I don't care. It's all just silly anyway. So anyway, they wave at me now, and the teenage boy across the street that thought I was a witch came up to me the other day and said, you're really, really weird. And I was like, yeah, but I like that now. And then I laughed and said, but I'm fun though, never boring. And he high-fived me and said I was all right. So I'm like making friends, and we're just building, like we all talk about these intentional communities that we want to build with each other, and because we have this like beautiful family and tribe online, people like you, Jesse, and Angeline, and Lori, and Kim, and oh my gosh, there's too many people to name, but we have this beautiful community, and I love when we can do videos together. It feels like we're actually in the same room together, even though we're not, and it would be more fun in front of a fire, like hanging out, but that's coming. But anyway, I decided that I was like waiting for a community to happen, and we all had all these like really great ideas about it, but it was really hard for any of us to seem to like do all of the action for it, like because it's expensive and it takes all this time, and there's a million reasons. And so I decided to build it here, and I did, and I think that is really what the 5th Earth is. Like I think that I was confused when I thought that I wanted it to be this like immediate thing, right? Like I wanted to wake up one day and be in the fifth earth where everything is perfect and fixed and like, you know what I mean? Like paradise or heaven or whatever, all the things people call it. And ascension, 5D, whatever, you know? And it's not though, because we're creating it. Like it is already here, but we're building it. And so it's a little bit more gradual. But I think that the more that we do all the things that bring us joy and make us happy and make us feel love, and like whatever your spark is, when you feel that fire, if we just all do that all the time, then it is instant and it's fixed and it's the fifth. And so anyway, that's when you ask for like what I'm doing, like that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to build a little bit of the fifth earth over here so that we can all collectively do that. And I'm so excited to be and honored to be doing that with you all.
So you live in your bus, but it's parked where your house is as well. So is that kind of
Yeah,
what you're got the vibe that you got going on?
indeed. So what happened was I found this amazing RV. It's we share a birth and manufacture date because it's 1988 or year, I mean. So she's meant to be, but it's this amazing Georgie Boy Cruise Master RV, and she didn't have any floors and or a dashboard or like all kinds of things when I got it. And I did all of the renovations. My mom helped a little bit, and my dad helped a little bit, and my friend Sherry came and helped. And so there's like good medicine and people, the love of like community and family in here. And then I thought that my plan was to just leave, and the girls and I were going to just full time live in the RV and do my apothecary on the road, you know, like because that way I can still like provide for my family and earn whatever I need to, you know, like for, because we're still physically in the third earth, you know, like while we're building the fifth. So we still need these like different resources and money and things. And so anyway, I thought I could do that. And that was the plan. And then I got really sick and tires weren't working out and the mechanics were having an issue and it's just really expensive. And so I moved stuff back into the house and decided, because we were all living in the RV, the girls and I and the animals, for like 3 months. We all lived in the RV so we could try it out, you know, and see what it was going to be like while we were in the driveway. So if we hate it, we could escape. And we actually didn't hate it at all, but there was a learning process and it was really good. And it was really fun bonding. But then we moved back into the household they have. And then I have kind of I gave Evie my bedroom. So each girl has their own bedroom now. And and the basement is like, the spirits are mostly like, the vengeful one that was frustrating is mostly cleared out, I think. So, but we don't use the basement. So anyway, they just have the 3 bedrooms upstairs and then we have the living room. And I've kind of been using the RV as my bedroom / hangout. And the little rescue kitten that Evie found in the gutter, I just made her an Instagram, so she's an Instacat now. It's Lady Almathia, the cat who lives. So like a play on Harry Potter, the boy who lives, because she's gonna live. I didn't think she would the first day that we found her, but anyway, I was keeping her in here because I didn't know if she was contagious to my other animals, and so she's not. So she and Xena and I are living in here now. And then my front door just faces the front door of my house, and I leave the big part of the door open. It's just the screen so that it's open to the outside. So really, it's just like being in an extension of my home, you know? And it's really been nice.
Yeah, and the girls can come there anytime if they ever need you. It's open. So that's pretty
Yeah,
fascinating. So it sounds like you guys went on like a 3-month camping trip together, you know, living there, but without even
we did.
having to go anywhere, but you guys did the whole camp thing together.
We did. And before that, what led to us being able to get the RV actually was that we kept having dreams that we needed to leave and like go on this journey. And we didn't know exactly what we were doing, but we were supposed to be doing like ceremony, you know, and spreading medicine. And so like blessing and healing lands and people and places and things while traveling. And so we ended up just picking up and leaving. I didn't know if we were even coming back or not. We went on a 3,000-mile, 3-week trip with all the animals. Even the hamster came because, like I said, I didn't know if we were coming back. In our minivan, which is the war pony. It's all beat up. I'm going to post pictures of it. It's too funny. People keep hitting it in my driveway, so she has no back windows. But she's glorious and amazing. And anyway, so we left in the war pony and we went up to Pennsylvania, into Maine, Georgia, Florida, and then back home, and we learned a lot, and it was an amazing learning experience, and it was nothing like I expected at all. It was very much like the backwards chaos, Heyoka energy, which is great medicine though. And then when we came back, then the blessing of the RV happened, and now the double blessing of being able to do both and not have to be all or nothing. Like I sometimes get stuck in an all or nothing vision, and something that I'm working on. But anyway, so it's really exciting because we can have the best of both worlds, you know, like the home base where we can come and like rest and be and heal. And then, you know, like the space in our home also that we can take on the road and have like a traveling community as well.
So it's probably a little easier than maybe to create your tinctures and products inside the house than maybe it would be in the bus. Or are you know, doing it in the bus? You trying to figure out how you could do that there just in case you do guys get it all fixed up and get yourself on the road?
So I do both actually. I've got a nice big closet in the RV that I call my apothecary. I'm so proud, like, and honored to be able to say that I have that. That's exciting. And I laugh because I always said that being a business owner sounded terrible, and I was never interested in learning business, and like nothing sounded more boring. And now the ancestors laughed, and I own business, and I love it. I want nothing more. But so it's ironic how that all works out. I think the creator loves a good story and irony and a good joke. But anyway, so I have built shelves into that closet, and it's full of jars of herbs, and it smells delightful, and it makes my RV feel like home. And so I make some of the tinctures, all the tinctures, I percolate them all in the RV. But then my the soaps that I make and different things like that, I make inside the house on the stove because it just wouldn't make sense to use the gas outside, you know, like in the RV. But I can on the road, and I also want to do some fun videos for collectively rewilding, of like making, like teaching people how to make soap like over an open fire or something, like just for fun. You know, I think that would be kind of neat.
Monica from our Facebook is asking, she says, well, not asking, but she says you don't even look old enough to have grown children. So maybe you can tell them how old your girls are. And then a previous question was, what was your cat's name?
Oh, okay. Thank you. That was really kind of you. I am 35, and I used to say that I felt old. I have some memory issues sometimes, and so I would always joke that I had early onset of dementia because for 12 years I took care of people with Alzheimer's and dementia, and they're my homies, and I love them. So anyway, it's just like this silly joke, but I don't say that because I'm not trying to manifest it anymore now that I understand magic better. But anyway, so I would say that I always that I was old, and all of this sudden, the last few months, I feel like I'm like backwards aging. It's really like wild. I feel like I'm 17 again. It's so weird, but like happy and 17, like healed and integrated and happy, you know, like, and it's really fun and really cool. But anyway, my daughters are 15. Is my oldest, Olivia. She is incredible. She does unschooling, and she also is working on her creative writing associate's degree. They have the community college here has this really cool thing where if you're doing homeschool or high school, I think they opened it to all high school students this year. You don't have to pay tuition to take classes. You just have to pay books and lab fees. And you can get like free PDF versions on illegal sites that they shut down, but still you can download them and have the book that way. So it's like $50 a semester for her to take classes. And that's really amazing. So she's working on that, and she's writing a book. She's teaching herself how to play the guitar, and she's 15. And then Evie's my 11-year-old. She is amazing. She gets me into a little bit of trouble because she's my like bleeding heart animal fellow. And so she and I are always dragging home all these strays, and we have a homing beacon. And we drive Olivia and Amaya a little crazy once in a while with it, but we're finding our balance. And so she helps me a lot with that, and she does unschool as well. And a lot of her unschool is focused on kind of like triaging animals and helping raise chickens and ducks and rabbits and beekeeping and stuff like that. And then Amaya's she is 8, and she's really into the herbs and the garden and making soaps and things with me. And so for her unschool stuff, she does that. It's usually what she gravitates towards. And we have a lot of fun together. We dance and clean or just like funny stuff. But Anyway, so those are my children's ages. And then what was the other question? I'm so sorry.
The fur baby's name.
Oh, yes. So Xena is my cat. She's my person. And then the one that I was holding just now is Lady Almathia. We named her after the last unicorn because it is prophecy and because she is a warrior and she has the unicorn's eyes. They're these like really like crazy teal blue purple eyes. And so that is her name. Evie and I were looking for our escaped chicken Ophelia. Last week I was working on the run, and Ophelia escaped. Poor Ophelia, she's okay. I never found her. I'm hoping that the other chicken person has her and not a raccoon. But anyway, as we were walking around, we found this little kitten laying in the gutter, and she could not really focus her eyes. She could not lift her head up. She was covered in diarrhea and fleas, and I was certain that she was not going to make it through the night. So, like, I wouldn't even let Evie hold her because I didn't want her to get attached. We brought her home, and I gave her a bath in the bucket outside because I didn't, like I said, I didn't know if she was contagious to my other animals or not. Pulled tons of burrs off of her, dried her up, treated her with some diatomaceous earth for the fleas. It's amazing. Like, it just kills fleas and eggs like instantly by breaking open the exoskeleton. And so anyway, and then I put a tiny bit of it in some food for her as well because it's a natural anti-parasitic and dewormer. She probably has giardia from drinking like bad water, you know, and because she doesn't have a strong immune system, she's a baby. So that thinks she's maybe between 3 and 5 weeks old. She's so emaciated that it's hard to tell. But she's had IV fluids, and I am bottle feeding her formula, and I make homemade cat food as well that has extra stuff in it for her and medicine. So I think she's going to be okay.
So you literally just saved a life because there was most likely she wouldn't have lived if you didn't come across her.
I don't think that she would have, and Evie really saved her. You know, Evie saw her, and my initial reaction was, "Oh my God, Evie, no, leave the cat alone, please," because we already had eight of them, and they weren't all mine. But we had Shadow, the foster cat, who thankfully is leaving today because he is a nightmare, and he was supposed to be gone 2 months ago. But he's leaving, and I'm so grateful. I'm excited for him. He's going to be really happy to be back with his people, and they got a different apartment. I'm really happy for them. That's a good blessing for them, and so. Anyway, he's leaving, and then Storm prefers to live outside and just visits me in the morning now, so I just feed him. He's kind of a neighborhood cat. But and then Thunder went to her new home. But I have all these cats that keep showing up, you know, and like needing things, and I have a homing beacon, and so anyway, I really didn't want to take on another cat, you know, but as soon as I held her and she looked up at me, like I couldn't leave her there, and so I told Evie to leave her, and then I looked at her right away and said, you know, like just go get her right now. And I wasn't happy about it, but she went and got her, and I held her, and I told Evie that we weren't going to be able to keep her, and we were not going to like name her because, you know, like she looked very sick, and Evie agreed, and then this little kitten looked up at me with these eyes. It's like little violet eyes. Well, big. She looks like a bush baby. She did something. She bewitched my soul, and I fell in love, and that's the story. So she's my cat. I know that she's meant to be. There's a very deep soul connection that I feel, and Xena does not like other cats at all, but she feels it as well. And so, yeah, and 3 is a magic number, you know, the power of 3.
So you're officially the cat lady. You're officially the cat lady?
Apparently, although we're going to be back down to 1 dog and only 6 cats, and we're not getting any more of either ever, so.
That's what you think.
I know, famous last words, right?
Yeah. So you were mentioning that you took care of, you know, people with dementia and stuff. Is that something that you went to school for? Was you doing that as a job? Was that volunteer work? Like what kind of, you know, position were you in, you know, taking care of these, you know, people that, you know, were kind of, you know, had their dementia going on?
So, well, I had Olivia when I was really young. I was 18 when I got pregnant with her, and then I had her just after I turned 19. And I had moved out at 17 and started college, but I dropped out after a semester. I lived in my car and like had to get my life together, and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have any direction. I was really lost. Olivia was actually prayed for at a Sundance and saved my life. But anyway, so I wanted to be able to do something that would be able to like support her. When I was pregnant with her, I got a job working at a daycare so I could learn about, like caretaking infants and stuff. And then I worked there for a little bit so that I could like nurse her while I was at work on my breaks and stuff. But then I ended up taking night classes twice a week to get my CNA, my certified nurse assistant, and my med aid license because you could make a lot of money. It's like $15 an hour. And also, when I was younger, I used to volunteer at nursing homes. I went with my church one time, and then I just kept doing it for fun by myself because I loved it. And June was an amazing friend of mine. She taught me incredibly bad words, but she was funny and spunky and the greatest. And she hated everyone, but she and I loved each other. I had gone in and asked if there was anyone that didn't have any like friends really or whatever that I could maybe talk to, and she was the one. And we had lots of fun together. And then Lyda Jane Waters, who was a retired teacher, taught me Latin and got me into all kinds of trouble and tried to escape all the time. And so it was a really great fit for me, to like do this job and be able to provide for my little baby. But then also, I really loved my residents and was good at taking care of them. I could not deal with the nursing home administration very well. So eventually I got burned out and let my license expire. And I did home health care for a while. But I ended up, when I worked at Tabitha, specializing in working with people with dementia and Alzheimer's because they just put me on that wing one day. And the people and I just really clicked, and I loved them and they loved me. And so I ended up doing that for a while and taking some additional classes in it. And then I worked with autistic children. I've always been really passionate about elders, children, and animals. I wanted to be a vet when I was growing up, and then realized that I was not good at math or science in a traditional sense anyway. And so it was not for me. And I thought that maybe I was going to go like fight poachers for a while. I wanted to be Jane Goodall. Anyway, and then I ended up deciding I wanted to be a healer when I grew up, but I didn't know what kind of healer. So I've tried on different kinds of careers, like the nursing assistant, teaching, working with autistic children. Then I did community outreach and peer support modeling and did like service arrays for the community service network. I was, for 8 years, I was the only person that wasn't paid that like went professionally though and like did the service arrays and stuff. And it was really fun and I learned a lot, and it led to internships with the United Way and doing economic services and kind of stuff like that. But that's more triage, common aid kind of work that I like, but for a system still. And so it still wasn't quite the right fit, but it was great and I loved it. I just wanted to do something more. So I went and got my master's degree in clinical counseling. The last 3 years I spent doing that during the pandemic stuff. And that was a really good learning experience. I hated it in some parts and I loved it in other parts. I learned a lot. And then I wasn't able to finish my residency to be able to actually get the certification for the master's because I wouldn't get the vaccine. And so I decided that maybe that wasn't for me either, and I didn't want to do it anyway. But I do it actually now. I can't call myself a therapist because I don't have the actual paperwork, like whatever, because that's not real. But anyway, but I do like talk therapy work, and I use those skills in sessions with clients and healing services. And then I also I get to do it in a way that I love because I'm not beholden to the ACA or their standards or their ideologies or anything else, like I just get to use my own heart and soul and discernment and connect with my clients in a way that is most helpful for them and most comfortable. So we can work on, like herbs or energy or just whatever it is, talk therapy, and kind of like roll it all into kind of like a total self-care in one visit situation. And so I really love it. I feel like I finally have found my calling. I know what I want to be when I grow up now. And so it's like a really beautiful adventure and I'm just super grateful. I'm still learning all the time. I just started doing some medicine card readings for people. So I'm still like learning things, but it's been really fun.
Now, weren't you recently taking some kind of school? And I was just, wondering what had transpired, with the school that you were taking, and if you, ended up, continuing with that.
Well, it was the master's degree in clinical counseling was what I was just finishing, and I couldn't finish the residency because of the vaccine requirement. So I did all the classes. All the classes are done, but I just haven't done like the last residency, and so I'm not going to. I don't really want to be registered with the AC anymore, but I did learn what I needed to, and I gained what I wanted to gain from it. So it's good.
Right on. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about, the stuff you did with the water protector, stuff. Oh, and didn't you did end up getting sick as well? Because I remember you were really battling with your health for a while. So you were going to school, battling with your health. How's your health, right now?
Yeah. So you're right. My health is interesting. My health is a very lifelong issue. I was born backwards and upside down with my hips out of the sockets and my lungs not working properly and pretty severe asthma. So I have kind of just like, this is like a recurring theme, but I know what it's here to teach me now. And so it's actually always been a blessing that I just didn't realize. And then it definitely got significantly worse during Standing Rock when we were poisoned. It's actually the first live cast that I ever did was from a hospital bed because I wanted to figure out how to help my people and I couldn't be on the front line and I couldn't even be there. And so I thought, what could I do? Well, raising awareness was something I could do. And so I did. And that was really great and just like a huge blessing. And it's how I ended up meeting a lot of you. So it's really beautiful how those things kind of work out. We try to like do the next right thing and then all of these blessings rain down on all of us together. And we have the greatest community, I have to say.
Kate from our Facebook, she says maybe you can become an ordained minister. Lily, have you ever thought of becoming a minister and having some official title to the work that you do?
So I have a couple of times. So during COVID, I thought about doing it because I wanted to be able to go visit elders again. Like I didn't want to work in a nursing home capacity and I wouldn't wear a mask. And so that helped me like decide not to do home health care anymore, like because even in a home health care setting, you were going to have to wear masks and do the vaccines and stuff. And so it's when I really like decided I was not going to work with elders in that way anymore, and like that chapter had closed. But I wanted to be able to go visit them. And so if I was an ordained minister, you'd be allowed to visit because they were so isolated in nursing homes and their families weren't allowed to go in, but ministers could. I didn't end up getting it done because I always have like a million projects that I want to do. And then sometimes things don't happen. But anyway, so I did think about that for that reason. And also I've actually studied many religions my entire life. I was raised very Christian for a while by my mom, and we went to church like 4 times a week. And it was a really big part of our lives. And it was really positive in some ways and really negative in some ways. And I'm so grateful because it helped me develop my connection that I have to my creator now. And because it was confusing for me as well, and sometimes negative, when I was in 5th grade, I decided to be an atheist, and I never could. I always believed in something. But I started studying all the religions that I could find anything about and reading the Quran and the Mahabharata and, all kinds of different things, the Tao Te Ching, and studying Hinduism and Judaism and just different things to try to figure out, like, why doesn't this make sense, right? Because, like, the New Testament and, like, the love and those things made sense to me. But then the people's behavior made no sense, and the Old Testament made no sense. And there were all of these pieces, and no one could answer them for me. And so I started like learning about all of them and realizing that they all say the exact same thing as far as what is important and true and what resonates. And then there's just other like little like differences culturally or things have been taken out and added, obviously the Council of Nicaea if you're talking about the Bible. But anyway, our tribal prophecies, they're all the same beautiful thing with the same beautiful message. And it reminds me of the children's book Old Turtle, and the truth, like they find a piece of the truth and it resonates with them and they love it so much, but it's torn in half and they don't realize they only have half of it. And so it causes all this problem and they come together. And I feel like that's what we're doing. Like we have found our whole truth.
So, the objective is to kind of come together, but we're battling, this NWO that talks about one world religion that wants all the religions to come together. So it seems like we want things that kind of coincide with things, but it's the opposite of what they're thinking opposed to what. So what's your thoughts overall about how that, coincides with, what we actually want here?
I am telling you, the great creator loves a good joke and irony because that's what this is, right? So everything that we're doing and building that is good and beautiful and positive, and this entire fifth earth or whatever we want to call it, um, they're just inverting exactly what we're doing because they can't create anything or build anything. They can only copy and paste those pesky 13 bloodlines and their minions, right? And they're little pathetic weasels, and they've about lost, like, it's been written that they've lost, but so they invert it, so they say, okay, these people are learning the truth and they're learning about their oneness and their connection, and they are finding themselves and remembering who they are. So that's going to be problematic for us because we're these evil, awful, parasitic overlords that are the Skeksis that have been ruling them. And, so now we have to do something about that, right? So what they do is they invert it by creating a similar thing, like telling us that all of the religions are the same, right? And using the oneness against us to make this, like they're in their own image, the beast system, right? Which is what they do with everything. Like if we need something, they find a way to fill that need, but to make it gross and evil and, just like bad. And so we're just flipping the script on them already. The electromagnetic fields and the poles have shifted. It's why you see all the animals like walking in circles. And really like amazing, beautiful things have happened and are happening. But that's part of this like shift that we're in right now, I think, in this split. The 13 bloodlines have already made their choice and they're going to do what they're going to do. And it doesn't affect us because we don't participate anymore. So they're going to create their 15-minute cities from hell. And they're going to do all of that. And some people are going to want to do that with them. They like the control and they like living that way. And that's okay for them. So they're going to go do that, but then we are shifting into our fifth earth and what we want. So we're becoming more and more sovereign and more free and more healed and growing and just doing things that make us happy. And so we're going to go do that, and like build our own community. And so it's like this separate.
So do you think that,
I think it's like the great divide, like because now is the era of restoration where balance is restored finally, because the pendulum just keeps swinging too far in either direction, So we were way off in the right. Now we're like in outer space at the left, and it's about to go back into the center. And I think that that's individually happening too. Like I think that we're all like collectively finding our centers and grounding more.
Does that mean if people are free to, if they want to be a religious base, they want to be a Christian, they want to be a Muslim, anybody can freely just be whatever they want to choose to, opposed to, hey, y'all have to follow these, like someone said, according to them, they want 7 Noahide laws to the Sandrahin and to be administered by the UN. And so that doesn't seem very free for people to believe
No.
and connect with any way they want.
No, it's not free at all. And see, the insidious beast that they use is like the new age, right? Like they know that because the new age is actually a play off of our old age, right? Our old ways. Like our crystals are ancient. Our healing vibrations and tones are ancient. Natural medicines are ancient. Our music is ancient. Like of all of the tribes, of all of the people of the sun and of this earth, like we all share these things. So we're gravitating back towards that. And so what they did is like took some of those things and put them into this like new age situation, telling everybody like Aleister Crowley, do what thou wilt, you can do anything you want. It doesn't matter what you do. There's no consequences. And they inverted it, right? And they made it ugly. So all we have to do is, like have integrity. It doesn't matter what you call what you believe. What matters is how you behave, right? Like, do you have integrity? Do you behave with honor? Are you an example of what you want to see in other people? Are you kind, but also like firm and you own your shit and stand up for yourself? Like, are you working on yourself? Because none of us are perfect. Like, that's what matters, I think, not what label we put on what we want to believe. And, they've passed the Noahide laws in 1995 under Bush Sr. They just haven't actually enacted them yet, but they've already passed them. But I'm not worried about that because that's third earth and we're like splitting from that. And so that's not going to exist in our reality, or at least in my own personal reality soon, and it doesn't really now. But it's definitely something that they would like to do, and so people who want to be rule followers and go along with the 13 bloodlines are free to do that. But that's what sovereignty is, right? As long as you're not harming anybody else or their property, you can do anything you want, like you can believe anything you want, say anything you want, feel anything you want, experience anything you want. You just don't have the right to infringe your will on somebody else's and harm them or their property, and like that's so simple to follow. Like that is natural law in a nutshell. It's the only law, it's divine law.
What you spoke about with the new age is the old age. Isn't that the same thing that they've done with medicine? Natural healing herbs is alternative, not even taught about, maybe frowned upon medicine that's been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And now real medicine is this allopathic drug, fake drug made synthetically medicine. It seems like they inverted that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, because our in all cultures and tribes, like because all of our ancestors were tribal at one point, like we were all hunter gatherers. And so um like we had in our way of life, like we used all of the plants, obviously, like for food, for making, like all the tools that we use for eating, for medicine. As Dr. Sebi said, like food is medicine. And it was usually the matriarchs, the women, the grandmothers, like who made the medicines and with the herbs and stuff and grew the food, and then everybody helped in that way, and the men were the providers and the protectors that did the hunting and the cleaning and the skinning of the animals. And so like that was the way that we just lived. Everything was not poisoned. It was the honorable way to do it. Like if people don't want to eat animals, that's completely fine. But there's also like, it doesn't have to be factory farming. It can be an ethical, like I love and honor this animal and I treat this animal well and I feed it. And then at some point, I very humanely, very quickly kill it and feed my own family. You know what I mean? And the circle of life. And I thank the animal for its life force, and so I'm obviously not trying to push those beliefs like vegan or non-vegan on anybody. But for me personally, I think that I don't like factory farming, whether you're vegan or not. And so living in a way that doesn't require that is good. And that's what we used to do, right? Before the 13 bloodlines infested us and mixed things up, And so, and we used to grow our own medicines, and we would go find a grandmother or your own grandmother if you were sick, and they would just treat you. You didn't need doctors. You would have like midwives or healers that specialized in different things for different needs. But for like being sick or being, just triage, you would go find a grandmother, and I think that coming back to that now is really important to be able to take care of each other and ourselves. Obviously we can't rely on the system. And one of my favorite things about sovereignty is that we're in charge, right? Like the most important aspect of it is responsibility, which means that like if I want to have children, then I'm responsible to care for them, right? Or if I want to have my animals, I'm responsible to care for them or myself. And so learning how to do some of that stuff again is really important, like because if I can't care for them, then I need to be able to afford somebody else to, and to be able to find that person and stuff. And for me, I would rather just do it myself, so I do. But then it's also where we can like teach classes with each other and, and like ask each other and help each other. And it's also how we build community, I think, from a distance, right? Like we have different services that we can provide to each other for different means of support and resources, and then gift those back and forth. Like you and I are doing now in this beautiful exchange that you've invited me to.
Diane from our Facebook says, what is the fifth earth or the 5D earth that you were mentioning?
So it is prophecy. It has many, many names, and I'm not even going to pretend that I know even like probably half of the names. But my favorite of all of the prophecies, like I said earlier, I feel like they're the exact same thing. They're just described slightly differently, like for each different like culture and people to best understand. Because like in our creation stories, for example, they all begin like for the most part in a sacred circle where we are either on the earth or underneath the earth. But where all of the tribes of people were here together and represented and all created by the same creator at the exact same time. And then we were all sent away, scattered away from each other to learn different things so we could bring it back to our circle again. And that's what we were supposed to do. So every people were given these stone tablets. And that's also the meaning of the medicine wheel, but the stone tablets, and they were told not to lose their tablets. And so you had their stone tablets, So you had the white nation, you had the red nation, the black nation, and the yellow nation. And they all went to their different four corners of the world. And so anyway, and these stone tablets were given prophecies. And so the prophecy of the Hopi discusses an era of purification and an era of restoration and a fifth earth. And their prophecy, the way that they explain it, is my most favorite. And so what that is it talks about how we were all created and we were all sent away from each other so that we could learn and grow and then come back and teach each other and grow again together and make paradise. But we forgot each other because we lost our stone tablets, and when we went away from each other and we forgot to return back and we got lost. And so because we got lost, these other beings, like we call them the Draconians, 13 bloodlines, reptilians, whatever, these non-human beings came and infested our realm, and they took over, like the Skeksis and the Gelflings, if you've seen the Dark Crystal. They took over and they set up this matrix and this like gross system and rules and ways of doing things, and they somehow convinced us that we had always done things this way and it was the best way and the right way, and that they were going to love us and protect us and help us do it because they were these greater beings than us. And so we fell into the trap and we made deals with and contracts with them, and we went along and we ended up forgetting exactly who we were. And so this prophecy talks about how as ages grow, because they were only given an age to rule, evil was allowed to rule over the earth realm, which is the material or third realm, for a total of one age. And so now we're entering a new age. So there's all kinds of prophecies for this time, like we have the book of Revelations from the Bible. You have different stories from the Sumerians, like with, of Noah and also Gilgamesh. You have and then the Babylonians have their version of Gilgamesh. Like you have all of these different stories, right, that coincide. You have the Chinese stories of the Great Flood, and all cultures, all groups, all peoples have the same stories. And it's really beautiful. It's another thing that connects us all, like Spider-Woman, who has connected all of our consciousness and woven all of our consciousness into the web of life. Like we all have pieces of each other through these experiences of our own ancestors. And so we are the prayers of our ancestors, all of us that are here. And so anyway, in these stories, they talk about how it would come to pass that humanity would start to wake up and remember who we were and return to our old ways, the ways of our ancestors, step into our birthright on our own hero's journey, individually and collectively, and we would ascend. So it talked about there would be this period of time that we're in now, the purification. Talked about how like all evil would be exposed, all darkness would be brought to light, it would all the darkness would be destroyed, and so it'd get really uncomfortable because we'd have to bear witness to all of it, right, and like watch it happen and witness it. But then after that time, people who were staying in their love and with their spirit connection and standing strong and being who they were and flowing with the energy of life would get to ascend through a portal to what they call the fifth earth. And people who didn't want to do that or were very stuck in fear or hatred or anger would go would stay in the third earth, and they would just stay there, and they would still do the material and play out their lessons with the 13 bloodlines, while the rest of us ascend into what they call the fifth earth, which is the restoration of balance. So it has been described as the Garden of Eden, as a heaven, but we're not dead. Everybody is alive and in physical form. It has been described as 5D. It has been explained as a black snake prophecy, as revelations, as a rapture. There's all of these different, and it's so great because it's the same thing, again, across cultures and across peoples and tribes, that is the same thing. And so I just think that this connection with each other is beautiful, and we're all like in this shift together now, growing and learning and healing and waking up and birthing this fifth earth together.
Diane said, thank you for the eloquent reply to my question. I suppose this fifth earth concept refers to Hopi wisdom?
Yes, it's a prophecy gifted down by Masao. So the Hopi prophecy says, and of course our Lakota stories are a little bit different, but in their stories, they say that Masao came during the creation, and he's a Kachina. And the way that he looks is very interesting. He reminds me of Jesus, actually, but as a Kachina. Here, I'll just grab a Kachina and show you. Okay, so this is a Kachina. They're believed to be like spirit medicine beings. And one of my beautiful Hopi cousins, made a bunch for me, and then this one was actually sent to me by a dear sister recently. But anyway, so Masao looks like that, except that he had like a crown of thorns around his head, right? And he was in a big spiritual battle before he had come to Earth, right after the creation of all of these tribes of people. And so it reminds me of Jesus or Yeshua, which is very interesting. It's another parallel that I find very beautiful. But anyway, he came and he delivered all of the prophecies to all of the tribes and all of the people. So the medicine wheel, right? Like the white nation, red nation, yellow nation, and black nation. And so anyway, when he was giving them, he was handing out ears of corn, as the story goes from the Hopi. And the Hopi waited and got the ear of corn last, and they took the smallest one with the smallest ear, but they did not care. And because they were grateful and they waited until the last, Masao gave them most of the prophecies, like more than the other tribes, for their stone tablet, and named them the Hopi, which means peaceful ones. And so that is the story of Masao and the fifth earth and the Hopi.
So you mentioned that, this dark was allowed to rule for 1,000 years. How, from a loving creator would, allow darkness to infiltrate this place for this 1,000 years or whatever that, 2,000 years, whatever that time frame? Do you maybe have any kind of explanation for people to think that really shouldn't be allowed from such a loving God or a loving creator?
Absolutely. And I've asked the great creator and I've complained to him and I have yelled, Tonkashila, I'm so mad at you. I'm sad, mad with you so many times about this very issue. Like, why on earth would you do this? This is terrible and we're not pawns and how dare you? It kind of stomped my feet a little bit. So I do have an answer because I have asked him and I have many, many times and had to laugh at myself about it later. And I've had tantrums and contemplated about it. So I've studied a lot of Gnostic Gospels, or they are, the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Lost Apocryphy, whatever you want to call them. They have a bunch of different names. I believe that they are authentic. They were all found together in the same cave in Egypt, and it was right after the Council of Nicaea when Constantine stole the Bible and rewrote it, a lot of it, and took things out. And so anyway, I think that they're authentic and good. And according to those books, there is a book of Lucifer, and it talks, and there's a Gospel of Satan as well, and it talks in these books about how the Creator had made all of these, not just angels, but all kinds of beings, the Wakian, the lightning beings, the phoenixes, dragons, all of these beings that were alive in this heaven realm or astral plane, including the angels. And he was finding different jobs, like for each of these different beings. And so they had different keys. Like there were angels that were in charge of the sky and of the colors and of all kinds of different things, right? And so Lucifer was the favorite angel. He was like the one that was closest to the Creator. He put the most of his life force and the breath of life into creating Lucifer, which was the light bringer, and he was beautiful and he was the light. But Lucifer, because he had such a big mission from the Creator, like he was so important and had something so big to do, he also had the biggest lesson to learn, right? And the biggest, like, if you can be the best, you also can be the worst, And so in his ego, his love and his light were so great that so also, because of duality, are his ego and his wrath and his, like all of those things are equally as, like monstrous as his beauty is great. And so for his lesson, because he kept stealing the keys and he was very, very jealous of the humans and he didn't want the humans to be created. And so in his own arrogance, he messed and altered with the clay that, like the Creator, it says in the book of Lucifer that there was this stone room, like stone temple, and there were these clay beings that were going to be the humans, but the breath of life hadn't been breathed into them by the Creator yet because only he could make them. And so Lucifer tried to like alter like genetic code and DNA in them before they were activated. And he did it 3 times. And so the 3rd time, according to this book, then the Creator said, fine, I will let you do this and rule over these humans for an age if they can find their way back to who they are and their purpose and love, then they are mine. But if they cannot, then they can choose you freely of their own will choose you. And so it was almost kind of like a playground, like a test. Like, I know that that sounds awful because terrible things happen, but it's not. The terrible things are real, and they're also not real, you know, like, and they're not permanent, and they're not still happening. And so yes, it sucks and it's been really rough, but we also learn more from struggle than we do from always having things be easy and good, you know? And so we've done all this struggle and shadow work and hard stuff. So now we finally get to have the blessings and the reward for the work that we've done, which is the fifth earth, but also the vanquishment of evil. So Satan no longer gets to rule, or Lucifer, whatever you want to call that being. The Luciferians don't get to rule. The 13 bloodlines are gone. You know, like, so that's what's beautiful. It's all clearing out, like, all of the shit, you know, and I don't claim to know what happens to them, and I don't care. But all that I know is that they no longer exist within our reality, and they cannot harm or see or touch us, and we cannot harm or see or touch them. And so that's all that matters to me, right? Like, I used to be very interested in vengeance, right? My ancestors were warriors, and so I wanted to watch the 13 bloodlines die, and I wanted to help kill them for what they've done. And that is righteous rage, and I do not apologize for it because it is necessary. But I also don't have to exist in it anymore, where like I am so interested in that part of it because I know that justice is being done, you know? So it's okay if I don't get to kill them at this point. I'll be an assassin in another life.
What about the thoughts that says in the Bible that Jesus was the light bearer? So sometimes people kind of intermix Jesus and Lucifer because they're both known as the light bearers.
I think that he is, and I'm not going to claim to know everything or preach to people, you know, like, because I just know what resonates in my own soul and what visions my ancestors have shown me, or dreams I've had, or things I've read, you know. So I just kind of compile. That's how I like think that I know what I think that I know, right? So I just want to disclaim that, I guess. But my belief about that, because I have seen a lot of people compare Yeshua or Jesus to Lucifer. But you know, if you look at any stories of like this great divine masculine savior hero, there's always two twins. Healy and Feely, Cain and Abel, like there's always this like theme of the two twin warrior sons, you know, and like one conquers over the other. And I feel like maybe that is the closest explanation I have for Yeshua or Jesus and Lucifer or Satan is, you know, like that they are the twin brothers, like the light and the dark, you know, the balance, because you have to have balance.
It's almost like the duality that's in us. Everybody's got the power to heal or to harm, and you choose. Same thing. Everybody's got the Yeshua and the Lucifer, and it depends on which, wolf or which beast which one you feed is depending on who and what you put out onto this earth.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. And like I said, I could be wrong, and it's okay if I'm wrong. And, you know, like if people have more information, please correct me or share, because I love learning new things. That's just what makes the most sense in my brain at this current moment and in my heart. But also, I don't need to know anymore, you know, like I started this journey with doing like research all the time. I was on the debate team and loved reading, and I was really nerdy and didn't have friends, so I researched, and then I started doing live casting and teaching classes and researching after Standing Rock and all, and when I was so sick and all of that. And I used to want to know everything, but I'm actually very comfortable knowing that I don't know now. It feels like the more I like grow, the less I actually know about anything. So all I know for sure is that everything is beautiful and prophecies are all being fulfilled and it's happening.
Yeah, and we're not looking for your answer to be like right or wrong. We're just looking for your interpretation of what you think is going on to maybe have people resonate with you, or maybe to people to disagree. And we're all free to believe and, live our lives, the best way that we know how. And that's the whole gift, I think, that of creation of life. As long as you're not harming, you have that ability to live in what you see is, best for you and your surroundings.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally what we're here to do. Like, the creator loves us so much that we are here to play and learn and grow and have fun and experience, like all of the colors and the tastes and the feelings and the emotions and everything, you know, and it's really beautiful. So it's easy to get stuck in this like negative, like, oh my God, you let Satan rule and these 13 bloodlines and what the fuck, and this is terrible. And I was stuck in that for, you know, almost all of my, well, definitely 33 of my years. Like I was, you know, like got really depressed and like, what the fuck? Like, why are we doing it this way? And why does it have to be like this? But now I realize that, you know, like it is literally all for us. And so that we can experience, and we passed the test and we've learned our, like the lessons, and we're still learning all the time, every day, obviously. But like the ones that were holding us back, you know, like we have learned and outgrown those. And so it's been really neat to watch everybody like on my Facebook timeline and stuff, you know, like experiencing joy and growing and doing all these different new cool things and adventures.
Pila says here in Germantia, Jesus equals 74 and Lucifer equals 74. So that's just that polarity, that duality, that brother, you know, brother, the opposite, you know, right there, I guess, in essence, right, with numbers as well.
Yeah, and the gematria. I find I'm not very good at numerology, but it always fascinates me like how other people can put all that stuff together, you know?
So Diane has a question here, and I guess this is going to kind of lead into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. It says, none of her business, but I wonder what Lily is vaping. I'm researching those products right now.
Oh, so I'm kind of a big kid, although kid is a satanic word, but I'm kind of a big child. I am vaping strawberry watermelon bubble gum. If I could talk, that would be helpful. It is delicious. It tastes like my childhood. It makes me happy. I used to smoke since I was 14, and I have quit doing that. But vaping is like my last vice, and I'm not ready to quit doing it yet, and I enjoy it. So I am, and I am healing my lungs actually after the rosal poisoning at Standing Rock. I'm a little like raspy today. Was drinking some tea and taking one of my tinctures earlier, but that's just allergies from everything blooming. I've been sleeping with all the windows and door open in the RV, but my lungs are actually healing themselves, and so that's been really incredible. I've been practicing on my own body a lot of like the different tinctures and things that I make. I was making for myself before I started selling them to people, and so it's been really fun to do that, and then like working with my mom too on stuff for her own home.
What would you think about vaping garlic?
That's very interesting. I know that the aerosolized garlic would be great for like your microbiome of your mouth and any bacteria and stuff. I'm not sure how it would taste, but it would be really beneficial.
So there's someone who we just had on here who's like a biochemist and doctor. And he was really sick, especially when this first thing happened. He thought he was going to die. He's had lots of asthma issues, inhalers, lots of similar lung things that maybe you have gone through. He created this product with Allison, and he says because when you eat the garlic, you only get about 4% of the actual, you know, like potency of what the garlic is, but none of it actually gets into your lungs. And so this way he's created this product. It's called Allison V. So he had sent me this
He's genius. That's incredible.
this
You could
thing.
nebulize it too.
Yeah, and so you put this
Genius.
into a vape, and he vapes this stuff. So in the last like 3 or 4 years that he's been doing this, he's actually got off all his inhalers, all his medications, because it's actually coating his lungs with this garlic and putting the garlic medicine directly into the lungs to be able to heal them. And he doesn't claim anything that it actually heals, but he said for anybody that has severe lung problems or lung damage, it coats them with protection to not allow other things to come and infect, you know, the pollens and things and stuff. And in turn, because he's coating the lungs with the garlic, it's actually been able to like heal, and people have been able to see major results. But obviously with the way the medical system, he can't claim anything, but you know,
Jesse,
that's
can you send me his information?
I'm going to
See,
send
this
you.
is what I mean. Like, our tribe is everything. Like, we have the most brilliant, beautiful souls in our tribe doing these incredible things And I would really like to buy that from him because I have, at Standing Rock, they were spraying us with those water cannons, and then they poisoned us with the castor pumice and phosphine and rosol. And then when I got shot in the back on the front line and I had hypothermia in Lake Oahe, I got the pneumonia and I just like ended up in the hospital for almost a month. And then after Waka Wash Day, when Jason tried to strangle me to death and I have the frozen vocal cords now that freeze up, I struggle a lot sometimes, like with my like voice, and my throat. And I'm obviously doing a lot of like healing with like energetically, but combining that with physical healing, of something like your friend's product would be really incredible.
So I will send you his
Thank you.
interview and, contact information so you can talk to him. Right now he's only shipping into the US because it's a new kind of product. He's trying to figure this stuff all out. We have some Canadians that are interested in the product. I linked them up. It's a little bit expensive for shipping, but I think he's trying to figure that out for them. So if you are,
Yeah.
listening and, that's something that you may think that you need for yourself, reach out and I'll see if I can somehow make things happen for if you are outside of the USA. But he's out of Florida and a really good guy. And,
Shipping is hard. It's really, with my apothecary, like the business side has been really, a learning curve, I guess you could say, for me. And the shipping was getting really expensive. So now I just use like the flat rate priority mail envelopes. You can create an account with USPS.com, and then they'll give you like, I think maybe it's like 500 free envelopes a month or something. They just bring them to your house in a big box and then you have them. And it's $10.40 to ship each envelope. So it saves a little bit more of money. And then you can just charge like $10 for shipping to whoever you're selling to. But that was a big learning curve to me because I was spending way too much money on shipping before I figured that part out.
Yeah, shipping
And I
is
haven't tried international shipping yet. So
Your shipping is wild. So we had just, created some cream and just wanted to share it with, people that, that kind of we were connected with. And it was actually cheaper to ship to the US than it is in Canada. As crazy as that is, even just one province over, it's like it was more expensive than shipping to places in the US. So shipping is wild and screwy, but that's another way that they have some kind of control over us. Not only they control us through our energy, through our food, but as well as shipping things and, gas,
right.
All these kind of things that, we obviously need to figure out things for our own sake. So we're not, reliant on them and their system.
Yeah, I think that this new energy has been really interesting to me and very like electrically charged and potent and powerful. And I feel like one of the exciting, really electric, cool things about this shift, this part of the shift that we're in right now, is that I feel like we're finally in the action stage. Like I think that we're just all coming out of this stage where we are all kind of like healing and growing and learning and kind of hibernating almost, like if you will, then in our own way. And I know a lot of us went through like great upheavals and transformations and losses and a lot of stuff. And now I feel like we're finally getting into the period where we're all ready to take action, and like be responsible for ourselves. And, so do things like your friend, like making this amazing garlic vape juice, and also, just like creating businesses, creating communities, growing our gardens, like all of these things. And it's really exciting to watch everybody do this together.
Yeah, and someone said that, they wanted to, what's the name? So it's called Allison V. So here's the little bottle. It's called Allison V. And at the bottom of every single stream that we have and every single promo that, beautiful promos that Angeline creates, is we have Cardio Miracle. If you put in the discount code TML or click that thing, it's 15% off. Cardio Miracle is some, nitric oxide. I think you be giving these, certain vitamins to create this stuff that helps all the healing. There's glutathione that you can purchase. Then there's a water filtration system. But then also there's the website www.allisonv.com, and if you put Jesse1 into the comment box ordering instructions, he's going to give everyone a free 1 milliliters on top of whatever you order just for mentioning Jesse1. So that's at the bottom of every single promo and every single interview that we do on the thing. So just, you can get that information there. We're just trying to find really good people and products to be able to, help promote, because we don't want to obviously be putting anything into anybody that we don't actually align with and agree with ourselves. So, I will send you that interview for you to check out. You can, hear him talk and hear his story about how it's helped him with his lung issues. And Angeline thought that at the same time that I was thinking it. She's like, when talked about the vape, and maybe that could help, just adding a little coating of garlics into your lungs to be able to just
Absolutely.
give it that little bit extra protection that
I mean,
maybe that you need.
it makes perfect sense, because I use garlic in a lot of the tinctures and remedies that I make and sell through my apothecary. Like I have fermented garlic honey, which is really great as a natural antibiotic. And then I also use it in the fire cider and in the elderberry elixir. But you're right, you're not actually vaporizing it into your lungs, So even with his vape oil, you could vape it, or you could also put it in a nebulizer. Like if you diluted it more and made it more liquid, you would be able to nebulize it. And I have nebulized colloidal silver to kind of aerosolize it, and that would be really incredible. So your friend is a genius, and that's amazing. And I think it's really good that we're going back to, like you were talking about, being responsible for ourselves. I think that it's wonderful, that we are going back to our traditions and to what we are supposed to do, like providing our own medicine for ourselves and each other, for example, like the natural way rather than relying on big pharma. A lot of people are getting RVs and buses now and kind of creating this mobile community together. And so maybe we can figure out things with our own posts in that kind of way as well, where we just can like transport goods between each other and trade. And I think as they start to develop their 15-minute cities more, like it might be very beneficial and necessary for us to have a mobile community where we can transport supplies back and forth to each other for people who aren't traveling as much, and so all of these really cool networking things that we can do together.
Barry was asking, do you bathe in borax? Have you ever heard about that? And do you know about adding different, things into bath water to make it more healing? So your skin's the biggest organ. You can ingest things through your skin opposed to having to eat them.
Yes. So absorbing things through your skin is an amazing way to get all kinds of really great health benefits from tinctures and oils and all kinds of things. And I do bathe in borax like weekly. I don't do it all of the time. And then I had seen this woman, she's amazing, and she had talked about bathing in a mixture of baking soda, bleach, and borax. And I tried that, and it was fine. It's not something I regularly do. The bleach isn't really for me. The smell of it really bothers me. But anyway, but I make my own kind of like herbal cleansing baths with Florida water and like different herbs like holy basil, and then I put baking soda in it, and I have the shungite, and so I make different things like that. And my apothecary, by the way, if anything that I mentioned sounds interesting to anyone, is Lily's Pad healingco.etsy.com, and otherwise it's Lily's Pad Apothecary and Healing Services on Facebook.
You didn't send me those links, so we didn't put it on. Maybe if you can go into the private chat and just type it, I'll put it scrolling at the bottom, and then I'll put it into the comments as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jesse. I'm not always the most responsible at remembering what I'm supposed to be doing.
All good.
We
just want to be able. We just want to be able to people to be able to see you. And, it was Lori Root Riley who reached out to me, and she said, you should have Lily back on. She's like, help her promote her business and stuff. So, that was why when I reached out to you and, asked you if you'd like to come back on. So, thanks to Lori Root for having your back and just being such a good, community person, a good, person that we all have connected with.
I love Lori so much. She has such a bright, beautiful, shining light, and her soul and spirit are just amazing. And she is so beautiful about connecting people with each other. Like, she has this amazing gift for like touching people and then connecting people with each other, and like just really like being such a wonderful member of our community. And I don't know, we're so blessed, like we have the most incredible friends and family and tribe. I don't know how it happened, but I'm so grateful that it did.
Do you see the little on the right hand side on you should say private chat?
Is it
Do you
on my
see it?
computer or my phone?
Well, on the computer on the right side, there should
Oh,
be
it's on
some
my
things.
computer. I typed it into my.
Yeah, so if you can type it, because then I could put it scrolling at the bottom, because I can't copy it from the comments for some reason. It doesn't let me copy it and paste it, so that way I can keep putting it throughout and then have it. Yeah, there we go. Then have it scrolling
That's
at the
okay. I'm
bottom.
just kind of a space cadet, so I did it in the wrong spot, and that's okay.
All good. So Monica was asking earlier, she said, where can she learn about the Hopi from good reference material because she doesn't want to be led astray. So maybe if you got any ideas of where she could learn more about the Hopi and the Hopi prophecies.
Of course. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So if you're talking about prophecy in general, there is a YouTube streamer named Jay Dreamers who is amazing. He has all kinds of different live streams, but my favorite are the ones where he talks about prophecy, specifically the Hopi prophecies. But he's really great about connecting all the prophecies together throughout tribes and peoples and religions. And then there's a medicine man called Sun Bear. He had he's not alive anymore and he's not a YouTuber or anything, but you can find like videos of him speaking. And then my two favorite books are written by Dan Iwahima. He's one of the last traditional elderly elders of the Hopi before the progressive Hopis took over. And he wrote two books. One is called Hotavia, which is the name of like the microcosm of the world. It's like the central location of the Hopi. Is that one. And there's another book called The Hopi Survival Kit, which is an incredible, phenomenal book. It's about just how to stay really grounded and centered and in your spirit, and stand as stone and flow with water during this shift and upheaval and prophecy that we're in. So those are probably the three things that I would recommend most highly.
Awesome. And so you mentioned about being poisoned through the lungs, the water thing and being shot. Tell us a little bit more about that situation, how that transpired, and then maybe some outcomes that you've seen. You mentioned a little bit, that was kind of the start, kind of there for you. But maybe tell us a little bit more about that journey, because I think that's a really important part of your history, as well as everybody else that, is, a protector of the water.
Yeah, it is probably the most important part of my journey to me, I feel like, aside from having my children. So thank you. And I'm really passionate about it. I love talking about standing up. So I am part Lakota, and then I also have Scottish Norse ancestors and a few German and a couple of Irish. But I was not raised like in my culture. So from a very young age, my ancestors talked to me. I saw them as spirits. And I heard them and I saw them and I had dreams about them. But I didn't actually like grow up on my reservation or around my people or knowing our own stories. So the stories that I knew about my own people, besides like just being around my ancestors, were like Pocahontas and, like silly stuff like that. And then when I got a little bit older and I could actually research like, real true accounts, then I was able to do that more. Of course, we know that a lot of them are still lies, but anyway, then as I grew, like that connection to my tribe just was very inherently important to me. There was like, my mom doesn't do like native things. Like it wasn't something that was really in my environment. It was just something that was always in my soul and my spirit and my heart. And so anyway, as I got older, I started doing a lot of different activism with different tribes. going to ceremony with my Ponca friend, the Sweat Lodge, the NDB, things like that. And then I was fighting the Keystone Pipeline against Energy Transfer Partners in Nebraska, because Nebraska, where I live in Omaha, but outside of Omaha in western Nebraska, we have the largest freshwater aquifer. It's in our state, and it's the third largest freshwater aquifer in the world. Or no, I'm sorry, that's a lie, in the United States. Is in Nebraska, and they wanted to put a pipeline through it. And so the Ponca and my friend Art Tandrip, who owns a farm that they were trying to use eminent domain to take, and a bunch of the rest of us fought them and created a group called the Cowboy and Indian Alliance. I don't love the name, but I didn't come up with it. But it's a lot of different tribes and ranchers and farmers and people working together. And it's beautiful because it's people that, you know, sometimes normally wouldn't, maybe, if you believe the media, you wouldn't think they would work together and be friends, right? You have native tribes and indigenous people, ranchers, farmers, Republicans, very liberal, bleeding heart Democrats and Bernie supporters, you know, and like all meshed together doing this beautiful work. And so it's a really powerful and cool because of the way that it kind of unites all of these different diverse people. But we ended up defeating Energy Transfer Partners and their stupid pipeline because we planted sacred Ponca corn again. So it's an endangered species of corn, and the pipeline company could not use eminent domain and win in the court because that corn was there. And so they can't even dig like within, I think it's 1,000 feet of those fields. And then Art Tandrip, for the first time in history in our state, gave half of his farm back to the Ponca tribe, the part that was on the Trail of Tears, he gifted back. So it was this really beautiful ceremony. And shortly after that, the Dakota Access Pipeline was starting. Obama went and visited Standing Rock Sioux tribe in 2014. He was the first sitting president to ever meet with one of our tribes on their actual land, which is really crazy to think about, right? Like the first one to go to a reservation, but he did. And he met with them, and he's a snake, and it was lip service. And he got the tribal council sold the people out, and they sold our land. The Lakota, our tribe, is one of the only tribes that still actually owns our land, because we have literally billions of dollars that belongs to our tribe sitting in the Pentagon that our tribe will not touch as a nation, because we want our land back instead. And so the land technically right now belongs to the Army Corps of Engineers, but they're not using it, and so we want it back. And anyway, so the tribal council and Dave, Apple Dapple Dave, who was their former tribal chairman, sold the people out and agreed to allow them to put a pipeline through our land. Well, that land is treaty land, and we have ancestors from Wounded Knee buried under it. There is the Missouri River, and there's a huge hill called Turtle Mountain or Turtle Hill, and it is about 100 feet in the air. Maybe it's a big bluff, and under that bluff are the bodies of our ancestors from the original Wounded Knee. It is a very sacred site. And the Missouri River runs right in front of that hill, and it is called Lake Oahe. And they wanted to dig through that area to build their pipeline. And it was going to poison the drinking water for millions of people potentially, because they don't eventually, it's not like if they're going to leak, they always eventually do. And so we stood against the Dakota Access Pipeline. So when I went, I hadn't really still been around my people. I had just, like done a lot of activism, but I hadn't actually visited like my reservation that my ancestors were from or any of those kinds of things. I don't know why, I just like shy, and I had a lot of white guilt, actually, a lot of this like weird that I've reconciled now, but I spent a lot of time being really confused, thinking that my white colored, light-skinned colored ancestors were evil and awful genocidal maniacs, that light-skinned people were inherently evil because the 13 bloodlines who are light-skinned are evil, but the rest of the people are not. And I didn't understand that, and so I internalized that, and I was very confused. And it caused me to not like myself for a lot of my life, because I didn't like that I didn't look as much like my ancestors as I wanted to, and like I looked like the villains. Well, I got this tattoo for my Norse Scottish ancestors because they were beautiful, amazing warriors and people. And I didn't know that about them when I was younger, and so now I do. But anyway, so I was excited to go, but I was nervous. I made a video for the girls because I knew that, like, I just had a feeling that something might go wrong and I might not return like living from Standing Rock because it had been super violent. I do have really bad asthma, you know, like different things. And I planned on being on the front line. So I took a big donation of like just like blankets and clothes and wood and different supplies that I asked people from my community to bring. I went close to Thanksgiving, the like first time that I went before I went back and got the girls, and then we stayed. And it was so beautiful. I drove 12 hours there. Actually, it was about like 14, I think. And I went up with my friend Buffalo Bruce, who did a lot of activism against energy transfer partners with me. And he is an elderly hippie, he's in his 70s, super, super cool guy. And so while he ended up sleeping the whole night, so we got there late and he just stayed asleep. And while I put up our tent and stuff, and then he stayed and slept there, and I walked around the camp and I met these people from Red Warrior Camp. So we had at one point 30,000 people there, but our camp was a bunch, like one big camp with a bunch of like little small, you know, like structures and tent communities and stuff in it, or vans, or anyway. And so I met Red Warrior, and they were trying to build a bridge across so that they could climb across Lake Oahe over to Turtle Mountain the next morning so that we could do ceremony and prayer and offerings for the ancestors for Wounded Knee, right, for our spirit plates. And they had these awful lights that were on top of that hill that they had put, the Tiger Swan people had put there in Morton County. And they're the kind of lights that you use in the military, you know, like they're very like blinding, and it's to disorient people and so they can't sleep at night. And they needed somebody to cut the lights, but everyone was too scared to climb up this hill because you couldn't see what was on the top of it. And so if there were armed police, you didn't know, you know, and I didn't realize this when I went up it, but it was also covered all the way on the sides in barbed wire because we kept having these standoffs over Lake Oahe with Morton County and Tiger Swan. And so they had covered it in barbed wire. They had taken our canoe paddles and broken them, put holes in our canoes, different things, and they were trying to occupy Turtle Hill, which is ours. And so anyway, I, without thinking, just got in the canoe because it needed to be done. The light needed to be off. And I went across and people are yelling like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you taking the canoe? I didn't ask anybody. I just was crazy. And I went and I just started climbing up the hill. And I got all the way to the top of it, and I'm like breathing hard. I can't breathe because it's cold out, you know, and I have asthma, and I just am like running up this hill like a lunatic. And I get to the top and they start cheering and yelling, and I'm like, you know, oh my God, be quiet, because there's one cop car there, but there's only one, and the guy's sleeping in the back. And I'm like, this is easy, you know, this is amazing, but they're like war whooping, and I'm trying to get them to not do that. And so I cut the first generator and turned off the first light, and I got to the second one, and I was just starting on the third, and I hear people start screaming, look behind you. And I feel things like flying through my hair. It feels like rocks like going through my hair. And it was just like a very like split second. Like I looked down and I realized like I either have to like jump or deal with whatever is happening behind me, right? And I didn't ever look behind. So I just trusted I just jumped. And I should have slid down. I slid down the hill, and I should have cut myself open on barbed wire, but I didn't. And I felt honestly in that moment like the ancestors carrying me down, you know, like they were like holding me. And I got shot at close range 3 times in the back, broke open my skin and fractured two of my ribs. But I didn't feel any pain. Like I remember not feeling anything at all. Just knowing that like they were rubber bullets that were like flying past my head. And then I got back into the canoe and it had a hole in it. And so I got stuck in the middle of Lake Oahe, in the middle of the Missouri River. And I'm actively having an asthma attack. I'm shot in the back. There's a snow shovel that I'm trying to like get across with. It's not working. And my brother Bravo, who's Pueblo, and he is my dear brother, I'd never met him before then, got in the water, in that freezing cold water, and pulled the canoe to the other side for me, got me out. Apparently I went into cardiac arrest and like coded there on the ground. I don't remember that happening at all. What I remember happening is people saying they were going to get the medic, and I was laying on the ground and I was very dizzy. But I felt fine. Like I felt great. You know, I was just dizzy. And remember thinking like I need to breathe better. And then I tried to get up and walk by the medic tent. Like they put me in a car and drove me across the camp. And I remember like trying to step out and face planting on the ground because I couldn't feel any of my body and I didn't realize that. And I was in shock. And the medic said that I was dying. Like I remember looking into my eyes and crying and telling me that she was sorry that I was going to die. But I didn't, like I wasn't afraid and I didn't feel like I was dying. It was confusing. She took my clothes off and I remember thinking like I should be embarrassed, you know, because I'm like naked and there's these people in here and I wasn't at all. And she put some like scrubs on me and there was this Buddhist monk standing in the corner, like literally wearing the robes. And he kept smiling at me. And I remember thinking that I should feel embarrassed because he's a guy and I'm like naked and I wasn't though. But apparently nobody saw him except for me. And so anyway, I'll tell you more about him in a second. But so I remember laying there and my heart rate was past 300 because my heart was working so hard to get my lungs to oxygenate my blood. And my lung capacity was not good. My oxygen level was down to 60. And so she was freaking out because they couldn't get the ambulances through because Tiger Swan had blocked the road with a semi. And so the ambulance couldn't come through. And she put a call out because we had all the keyboard warriors all over the world, you know, that were online trying to help us with our camp and the protest if they couldn't physically be there. And so she put a call out to have them all call the hospital and tell them to come. And the hospital eventually put the phone on an answering machine. I just wouldn't answer it anymore. And so I made friends that knew who I was before I knew who they were. And I did die medically. My heart stopped and I died. And what I experienced, though, was that Buddhist man came and placed both of his hands on the sides of my head like this. And it just got very, very warm. And he was smiling up at me and singing and chanting. And I don't have any idea what he was saying, but it felt like home. And it was very peaceful. And the next thing I knew, I was completely fine. And the medic was bawling, telling me I was going to be okay. And she didn't know what had happened. And I was asking her about the Buddhist man because he had disappeared and I wanted to give him like a thank you offering. And I went back every day for 3 days to give him an offering before I realized that he actually literally like did not physically exist in this realm because nobody else had ever seen him in the entire camp. And like, it was the most beautiful, life-changing, like I can't even put it into words, experience. And so I went back to the front line that night. And I helped finish building the bridge. The medic made me promise I would go to bed, which I did not. I'm sorry, medic, but I appreciate you saving my life. I did go the next day and get tea, though. And then I was told by a security, a Kichita, that the elders were going to be very mad at me because they hadn't sanctioned my action to climb up that hill, and I did not ask permission. And so I wanted to like take responsibility and honor. So I went and sat outside of the elder council, like they had set the 7 fires. Like, so our camp was called Oshete Oyate, which we ended up renaming it that, which means the camp of the people. But for first, it was the camp of the 7 fires. And so where the 7 fires were lit, all of our elders had their yurts set up at Oshete Shakoan. And so I went and sat outside of the elders' yurt so that I could tell them what I had done. And Robert White Mountain, I'll never forget, I'd never met him. And he came out and I just wanted my people to accept me. You know, I'd never been around my own Lakota people and I wanted them to like me. And I felt really bad that I had like done this action and I hadn't asked, I hadn't thought about it. I just did it and I didn't know if he was going to be mad. And so anyway, I was sitting there in all of these thoughts and he came out and was surprised to see me. And I introduced myself and I said, I have to tell you that I climbed up Turtle Hill and I was trying to be helpful. And I thought he was doing the right thing. But if you're mad at me and you want me to leave camp, then I will. And he looked at me just silently and said nothing for such a long time. And like, I thought he was maybe going to yell at me, you know, like it's worse when it's like silent. And he said, first of all, I want you to know that I'm glad you're alive and that they did not use real bullets on you because they can since you approached them. And he said, and second of all, I want to thank you for counting coup and I want to honor you and welcome you back to your people. And like that meant everything. And he told me that I could stay. And he actually created a ceremony for me where I was honored for counting coup against the enemy. And I earned my first eagle feather. It's a golden eagle feather that I have now on my staff, actually. This staff is my great grandfather's staff. And I have this eagle feather. And then this is the golden eagle feather. But anyway, so that is the next. I stayed there for 3 days and I helped with camp, and then I drove home and I picked up my wonderful children and I brought them back with me. I was already starting to get a little bit sick because it's really, really cold there, and so like at night it was like 40 below zero, and North Dakota gets much colder than Nebraska. So I wasn't as prepared for their winter as I thought I was. Nebraska winter is not the same. But the girls loved it. They got to play in the snow. They had Christmas in the yurt. I brought their stockings and presents, and they got to open them in the yurt. On Christmas morning, they got to hang out with all of our res cousins and see Santa. I don't personally believe in Santa, but it's okay. It was a fun thing for them. And not everything has to be an agenda, even though it is. I just don't feed into it. So they had a really wonderful time. I spent a lot of time still on the front line, and then I met Janine. She's a high school teacher who's Lakota, who was visiting from California, and so she would watch them for me, because she didn't want to be on the front line. She wanted to help in the back. And so we did a ton of actions. I got to be recognized with the akashic and wonderful elders like Angry Bird. And we would meet at the Eagle's Nest, and just was like guerrilla warfare. Like it's an amazing experience. I can't even tell you, and riding on snowmobiles. But they also sprayed us with water cannons and Rosol, which is a rodenticide. It depletes your vitamin K and causes internal bleeding. And so it's banned, and you have to have permission to use it to kill like groundhogs and stuff is what it's for. They poisoned our Tatanka, our buffalo, with it and fed it to us. And so I had internal bleeding that I was hospitalized for. They had these helicopters flying above us, and we had a thing, we called it the dapple cough, and we nicknamed it that because everybody was always sick and coughing and raspy and sore throats all the time at camp. But we weren't actually like sick, but we felt kind of sick, and it was just this thing that everybody had, so we called it dapple cough. And they were spraying us from this helicopter and from these water cannons, and we found out what they were spraying were ingredients from mustard gas and Agent Orange. So there was castor pumice, phosphine, and trichlar propane. And they also dumped 40,000 pounds of Rosol on our buffalo. So 40,000 pounds, and they blamed it on a farmer who had incidentally just sold his farm under eminent domain to Dakota Access Pipeline, of course. So this is like the nefarious shit that they do. But it was amazing, and what I want people to take from camp, and what I think that we're going to try to build again, actually, my great brother Sonny and I have been talking about trying to build another intentional community of Standing Rock, Oshete in the Camp of Seven Fires, except not fighting against anything necessarily, but just living the way that we should live, right? Because in our camps, people brought all of their resources and tools with them. So we had straw bale schoolhouses and structures built, and kitchens that the grandmothers would cook for everyone. And we had bicycles that were stationary that you could ride and charge your phone, and compost toilets and solar generators and our own water filtration systems and different forms of free energy. And we were really organized in that way. And I think if we could do that again, right? And that is the antidote, right? Like another Standing Rock is the antidote to their 15-minute city. We just build the paradise that we want. And so that is why I think that the fire of Oshete Shikon still, I know that it still burns within me, and it burns within our realm and our world, and we're doing it again. We're just passing the torch over to the fifth earth, to that sacred fire.
That's amazing. What an experience. So was it the government that was spraying and poisoning? Was it this private army? Was it the pipelines, people? Like, who was actually, poisoning, spraying helicopters? Like, what was this? And who do you think that it was behind the actual poisoning of you and the people there?
So it was ultimately the 13 bloodlines, those pesky villains. I blame them for all things bad. But it was them, and George Soros had him and Bill Gates funded, Monsanto through Obama to have this pipeline. And so it was them, but also the Dakota Access Pipeline as a corporation through Energy Transfer Partners. And then, ultimately our United States military the reserves were used against us, and the people actually tried to drop their weapons and they asked to be sent home, and the reservists did not agree with it. I have a lot of respect for the military men and women that I met at Standing Rock. We actually made friends with them. Not Tiger Swan, but the actual military itself, like we would bring like plates of food back and forth and like share and talk, and they did not shoot at us, and they were angry about the human rights violations being broken. Tiger Swan is like Blackwater. They were in Iraq and Afghanistan. They are a private mercenary group. They were the worst and the most violent offenders. They were the ones poisoning us and shooting the most, violating international law, treaty law, human rights laws. They were aiming to kill us. We have found emails that were leaked later that prove that they were, and WikiLeaks has them as well. And then they labeled us jihadists because we were praying and doing ceremony, and so they called us jihadists. So that's like whatever. They're silly. But ultimately it was all of them, and then also they used the local police forces. So they had Morton County, and they had representatives from, I think it was 20 different states sent their state patrol, including Nebraska, the state that I live in. So it was a
Wow.
lot stacked against us, and military grade weapons and things.
So it was private armies, but you said there was police forces, there was actually government that was involved in this, sanctioning it, allowing it to happen, not trying to protect
Absolutely.
the people. So
Yes,
this
and
is
it
the
started with
United States
Obama.
government. The United
It started
States
with
government.
Obama, and then it continued with Donald Trump even. He ended it eventually by signing an agreement with Energy Transfer Partners. Donald Trump did, but Obama was the one that passed it and allowed it to happen. And I think that had Trump not come into office, the violence would have lasted longer and been worse. And so then ultimately in February, our camp was burned down. We burned it in a purification cleansing ceremony so they wouldn't have access to our things and to heal that land, and clear the medicine. And were mass arrests where they entered in our camp and forced us out on that day. But it was just, the most beautiful thing, and a piece of my heart will forever remain at Glutathione.
So maybe refresh my memory, but you may know this, but a year or 2 years afterwards, wasn't there did the pipeline go through, and wasn't there an actual, or somehow they raid, and then there was an actual leak into the river from one of their pipelines? So didn't what everybody came there to stand against, to protect, that atrocity actually did happen afterwards? Like everybody was basically proven right that this was the wrong thing to do.
2,000 gallons, and that part of the Missouri River has yet to be cleaned up. It's very sad. It's a very sacred river, and water is sacred. But Unshimaka, our great grandmother Earth, is healing herself. So it's okay. But yes, I'm glad that we have stopped having as many pipelines. Obama really tried to put a lot of them in place, and luckily we haven't been doing that anymore. Trump did not continue with as many pipelines, and Biden just doesn't know what day it is.
So what's your thoughts on how sacred our water is, and how much of an impact that whole 30,000 people coming together showed the world, from what your guys' actions were?
Water is everything. I mean, if you map out our arteries and our veins, you can match them to major waterways on our earth, on Turtle Island, which is what we call North America. Like, this is everything, and it's all over the world. Of course, our water is everything, and it is sacred. And we say water is life because it is, without water, there's nothing. If you, mini Bitchute, water is life. If you want to live, you have to have water. Your body is made up of 80% water. Like literally every compound that exists has to have water to survive and to thrive. But it also connects us in these other beautiful ways, and it reminds us how to behave, like to flow like energy, because water is very calm and gentle, but it can also rage and destroy and protect and build. And So I just think that water is really everything, and protecting it is paramount. Because our mother will protect herself, and Mother Water will protect herself if she has to get rid of us. But that's not the solution. The solution is just to live in harmony and balance once again. Humanity is not out of balance. It's the 13 bloodlines, and we got sidetracked by them. So we just have to remember who we are and then go be human.
Yeah, someone just came in here and started spamming everybody. Everybody was saying scammer, fuck scammer, and so I blocked as quickly and I tried to delete the comments. So, just so I'm aware, I do monitor everything and I try to get that as fast as possible. Someone was just saying some weird messages, but wow.
That's okay. Maybe they needed a little attention.
Yeah.
Feeling a little lonely out there.
We are water. So where do you think we are all at now then? You mentioned a little bit before there's kind of a split in this last 3 years. More people have woken up than I've seen in 30 plus years of me trying to looking to educate or enlighten people into what is going on. Where do you think we are now? How close are we to the Hopi prophecies? What should people be doing to learn more, to get more in alignment? Just, maybe some words of wisdom or advice, for people that are watching now and that, will be watching this on a replay.
So sorry, I had to feed a hungry baby. So that's a great question. I think that we are, as you said, in this giant split and shift. I think everyone has chosen what they want, like I think everyone has done the work to know what they want. And so now that split is happening. And I think that we are returning to ourselves, I think that we are standing in our power and our birthrights and remembering who we are and healing ourselves and growing and learning and building community together. Because I think that that's what our tribe has chosen to do. Like we do not want the material world. It doesn't serve us. It is not for us. We can enjoy material aspects of things, but like we don't want that synthetic matrix, false, we don't want that part of the duality. And so we are going through the portal, if you will, according to the Hopi, into this fifth earth. And I think that just to stay centered and grounded is really important, like to remind ourselves that things are always louder before they die, right? So the 13 bloodlines are really loud right now. And I mean, it's a whole clown show, that submarine and everything else, like they're crazy. But it's going to be louder, and they're going to try to scare people with Noahide laws or fake aliens or whatever they do. So staying in your center and being grounded is really important so that chaos can be swirling all around you, but you stand as stone, knowing who you are, being stoic, being in joy and love, and not being afraid, so that we can just keep doing the next right thing, and we already know the future because it's a pattern and we can predict it. So we know what they're going to do next and we're already prepared. So I think the most important thing is to be as happy and joyful and loving as possible. So for me, that's spending a lot of time with children, like these neighbor children. Two of the twins across the street and their autistic brother are Lakota and their mom is not. And so their mom asked me if I would teach them some ceremony and stuff. So that's been really fun. We made these prayer ties together, these tobacco ties. And, just swimming in the pool, spending a lot of time in water for me is grounding more than earth. Making things in my apothecary for people to serve other people is really nice for me, and doing readings for them. That kind of stuff makes me happy and is how I thrive. Listening to good music, drinking coffee, reading books, my kitten. So I think just whatever brings people joy is what really you should focus on. And also remember, if you build it, they will come. So, when community gets expensive or overwhelming or there's so much to do, just take little pieces of things that you want to do and you like to do and you can do and build those, and then the others will join. That's what I found anyway. And don't do anything you don't want to do. I feel like that's my biggest secret to being happy now all the time is I literally don't do anything I don't want to do. And if I don't want to do something, then I ask myself why I don't want to do it, right? Is it a responsibility that I need to do and it's just not fun? In which case I make myself want to do it, like I'm going to dance and sing Cat Stevens while I clean because I don't like cleaning, but I have to get it done anyway. And so I'm going to be mindful and enjoy and love doing it because then I have a nice clean house and that makes me feel good, right? Or or it's something that I really don't want to do and is not necessary, then I'm just not going to do it at all. And in living that way, like every moment of every day is enjoyable.
A question that popped up about the Standing Rock. You said there was around 30,000 people there. So were they all native, indigenous people, or was this a collaboration of lots of different people that came from lots of different places and cultures and backgrounds and skin colors to help support and, come together to protect the water?
Oh, it was amazing. It was the entire world. The entire world came. There were demonstrations in Canada, there were demonstrations in New Zealand and Australia. The Dutch even had a demonstration. There were tribes represented from over 300 different countries and tribes. There were people from the Sami people came from the Netherlands, even. There were tribes from South America, Mexico, the Wet'suwet'en tribe, and the Mohawk from Canada. So from your neck of the woods, Jesse, all of these really incredible people. And then you had then people from just all over the world, different countries and backgrounds and colors and religions. And we had clergy people show up like in their, like robes, like priests wear and things. There were some Tibetan that came for Thanksgiving, or not Thanksgiving, but for one weekend. There's just all kinds of people from everywhere. It was really, really cool. And it was extra beautiful because by the sacred fires, you would find every sacred fire you'd go to, you'd find someone telling a story about something or sharing a part of their life, and so we were all just like learning from each other all the time. And it was wild, like you're freezing cold, you're being poisoned, everybody's sick, they're shooting at you and you can't sleep because of the lights, and they're doing all this stuff, and yet we were so happy inside of camp, like all the time. It was just so beautiful. It was magic.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that amazing story. And, you being a part of that amazing history is just something that, that's to be proud of, that you actually took that role and you got shot in the process. It was rubber bullets, but your life was in danger at that time, or was it? You were protected. So, but you did go through this major traumatic experience in the hopes of helping the people. It's such a wonderful story.
It was really like, it's my honor to have been able to do it, and I'm grateful every day that I could, because it has brought, if I had no idea what going there would do, but the amount of blessings it has brought to my life, like I wouldn't be who I am without that moment, and my children wouldn't be who they are, have what they have. And like I just love this life. Like I struggled against life in this realm and hated being here for 33 years, and now I finally love it. And like I'm really grateful that I get to just like be here and experience all of these things with all of you, and it's good.
Lily's Pad Healing, co.etsy.com. Tell us what people can find there. Tell us a little bit about stuff that you make, how people can contact you if they're looking for some of the healings that you do. So just share what you do and how people can connect with you. With everybody here today.
Okay, I should have grabbed some samples of stuff to hold up and show. I didn't think of that, but that's okay. So I started making my own soaps and lotions and things. That's what I started out with first, and health products, because I, as we've established, have a lot of respiratory kind of stuff that I struggle with sometimes. And so I was spending ungodly amounts of money on like with three daughters and all of us with very long hair, like shampoo and soap and then my respiratory medicines and stuff. So I started making it, and I really loved making it, and it was fun, and I decided I was actually pretty good at it, and I was excited because I've always wanted to be creative, but I'm not like, to me creativity is like painting or drawing, and I've always wanted to do those things, and I cannot, to save my soul, that's Olivia's jam. But I can with like making things with herbs, I actually can create, and so I love it, and it's very healing for me. But I make herbal soaps that are aromatheric, but then also like do different healing things for your body. So like my mom has a lot of psoriasis that she deals with, like rashes and dry, itchy, flaky skin and pain. And so I make her a calendula honey oatmeal soap. It has manuka honey in it, calendula oil, little calendula petals because they're pretty, and it's a goat's milk soap base, so it feels really nice and smooth on the skin. And then I have another favorite soap that I make is turmeric honey ginger soap. It's really good for if you have any dark spots or acne spots on your skin. It's really good for hyperpigmentation. It also is really moisturizing. I have a lemongrass and matcha green tea soap, orange bergamot. Those are olive oil soaps if you like more of an olive oil soap base. I make a bentonite healing clay and activated charcoal soap with also olive oil. I make a dish soap bar that is lemon and coconut milk soap. And then I have some really fun soaps for children. They're different colors of confetti soaps that have little surprise toys inside of them. They're little mochi surprise toys. So they're like little figures that they can get. And those are goat's milk confetti soaps. I can make soaps in any scent that you want with any herbs that you want. You can customize them. They are $8 a bar, or I can make wholesale, like the entire bar, for $20. Let's see, or if you want me to package it individually for you, then it would be like I think 28. But if you just want like the bar of soap itself, not in individual packages, and you can cut it and stuff, then that. I also have I make tinctures. So I have, it's called respiratory rescue tincture. It is you take 3 to 5 drops under your tongue as many times a day as you want, or you can put it in a tea. I do steep it and percolate it in alcohol, but then I boil the alcohol out in a hot water bath for 6 to 8 hours, so there's no actual properties of alcohol in it anymore. It's got licorice root, dandelion root, eucalyptus, mullein, bear root or osha root, angelica root, fennel seed, fenugreek, and I feel like I'm missing elecampane and astragalus. All of that in it, and then it's filtered through just purified water. And that's a really, really beneficial tincture. I make a third eye blue lotus meditation tincture. I make homemade quercetin with grapefruit, which is a great antibiotic. I make oregano oil. Let's see, I make salves. There are different salves. Calendula salve is kind of a heal everything salve for your skin, rashes, cuts, burns, scrapes. I use it on this kitten. Her little tail is raw. She's having tummy issues. So I use it for her. My mom uses it for psoriasis. I've used it for rashes and bug bites and allergies. I make some for pets too. I'm making a line of pet care products in her name. Her name is Almathia. So it's going to be Thea's soaps. So there are pet soaps, and there's a lavender and calendula salve for animals, flea and tick oils that have citronella and cedarwood that are natural and won't hurt them. Oh, thanks, Jesse. You're incredible. I do akashic record and spirit card readings. I make toothpaste and deodorant. There are EMF protection pendants listed on my Facebook page that I need to put onto the Etsy page. So I'll try to get that done this evening after this is over with. Let's see. I also make a really good shampoo bar that I like anyway. It's got rice, starch, and rice protein in it. So it's really good for long, thick hair. I have another one that I make that does not have that, but it has castor oil and black molasses and patchouli. That a lot of people really like. I make body butters and lotions, as well as exfoliating scrubs for your skin. And I make oils. So there's just all kinds of stuff if you're interested in any skincare or healthcare products. I also offer a package deal where for different amounts of money you can have a free consultation with me. So like the most expensive is $80. You can do a free consultation with me where you tell me all about your skincare, healthcare routines, your medical, physical health, all of those things. And then I put together 5 or 6 personalized products just for you that treat all of the different things. So they can be a combination of soaps and body butters and shampoos and tinctures or whatever, all tailored specifically for you. Or we can do that same thing with 3 or 4 products for $60 or 1 or 2 products for $40. So that comes with a free consultation, and that's really helpful because I can tailor everything to your own needs and your own scents that you like and textures and all of that kind of stuff.
So we've got over 100 people watching here still, like right now, live. They're on different platforms that maybe they're not on Facebook. If they contact you through this Etsy, there's a contact here, and then they send you a message, and then to get some of this stuff tailor made for them or in bundle packages, or
Yeah.
how does that work with Etsy?
Absolutely. You can private message me on Etsy and I will get it. It usually takes me 1 to 2 business days to see them and respond. Because it's not, I don't have like an automated thing. I just respond personally to your message. Then you could also message me on Facebook. I also have a Facebook page, Lily's Pad Healing Services, is what it's called on Facebook. You could message me or reach out to me there. And then I just started an Instagram page as well for the kitten because I've spent $250 at the vet, and she still needs more antibiotics and more I can't think IV treatment. So because I can triage animals, but I'm not an actual veterinarian. So anyway, if anybody is willing to follow her story on Instagram, that is Lady Almathia, the cat who lived. Or the cat who lives, and it's on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, you seems like you're busy at work, doing stuff that you love doing. How's it going? I seen on the bottom there was 31 reviews, and you're at 5 stars on your 31 reviews. So obviously, you're reaching people and they're happy with your products and
I
services.
hope so. I really hope so. I love it. I haven't gotten any negative feedback. I do need to work on labels. That is something some feedback I've gotten. I need to get like a professional label maker or something. So I'm working towards that. And I'm going to my first festival in 2 weeks where I'm going to just set up a booth and like sell things that way. Which is what I want to do with the RV, kind of like travel and pay for gas money by going to places and selling things. So it's been really incredible, and it's been a really great blessing to be able to help people with different things that they struggle with, and to watch the joy on their face when it heals or it works. And that brings me a lot of joy, and I just really love it. And making all the soaps and stuff with the girls has been a really fun experience too.
Amazing. So what's next for you? Just keeping on, keeping on. Anything in the works besides, maybe this festival?
No, just what I'm doing now, just the unschooling and the community homeschool and the raising the chickens and ducks and rabbits and trying to save this little kitten's life and just experiencing joy and loving all of you, birthing this new earth with you guys. So.
Can you tell us a little bit about the unschooling and, how that is, how you structure things? A lot of people are saying they're, unschooling or homeschooling, and more people are doing it. So maybe you've been doing it for a long time now. So maybe some words of wisdom or some advice for people that are maybe just newly taking their kids out of school because it's happening more and more, or these indoctrination camps they call schools, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, so I have been homeschooling for a long time. I very first homeschooled Olivia in 2nd grade when she was 7. She was having a really hard time with school, and it was affecting her mental health and giving her some anxiety. So I pulled her out, and then she wanted to try to go to school again in 5th grade, and that was the year right after Standing Rock. And I met a guy there that I thought was my friend, and I was like helping him out, and I let him stay with us for a little bit after Walk the Watchside camp. And he actually attempted to murder me in my home, and so she had some trauma from that and mental health stuff that my children struggled with after she was having panic attacks and stuff. And so school, she didn't want to go anymore, and I pulled her out permanently then in 5th grade and homeschooled her. And then of course when COVID occurred, I homeschooled Evie and Amaya, and I was very nervous about homeschooling all 3 of them and how that works with like different ages and things that they're learning, and how to do all of that. And I had no idea what I was doing. So initially I tried to buy these like really expensive math workbooks and stuff for Olivia, and it was a big waste of money, and we didn't end up using a lot of them. I found that you could go to Dollar Tree and get basic math stuff like all the way up until like middle school math. You can get like little workbooks and just do that. So we do a little bit of that because I want them obviously to be able to read and do basic math and stuff, you know, like the fun foundational stuff that they would learn in school, right? But then the rest of it is just up to whatever they want to learn. So like for unschooling, if we want to work on math, for Evie, her math and science are feeding and watering chickens and ducks and rabbits and researching. I want ducks. She wanted ducks, and that was her idea. And so she had to research, how do you take care of ducks? What do they need? Build a thing for them to have, you know, like structure it yourself. And that is her through school and through learning, you know, like doing science and math and reading and writing and making a plan and critical thinking. Or Amaya, she chooses a lot, like I said, to do some of her unschooling work in the kitchen with me cooking or making soaps and things or working on the garden. And so that is stuff that she does. Olivia does a lot of independent study. So she does her college classes online, and then she reads literature books herself and, you know, like she kind of handles her own school because she's really responsible and mature to do that. And then now we've got Amaya's 8, and so we've got 2 8-year-old twins across the street and a little 8-year-old girl, and then a 10-year-old autistic boy, and then Evie's 2 best friends are 11 and 12 that are also live across the street. And so they've all been coming over all the time too and like having pool parties with us and grilling and roasting marshmallows. And so they get to participate in our tea parties or are doing stuff with chickens or watching or swimming with ducks or whatever it is that we're doing. They get to do it too. And so it's great because I'm so thankful because it means that they get to socialize now, you know, like too with other children that aren't just their sisters. And so it's like just this wonderful thing.
Lori said Olivia's writing a book, you said?
Yeah, she is writing a book and she's studying right now how to publish it. She's going to do self-publishing, probably through like a third-party site like Amazon or something. And so I'm really so excited. I can't wait to read her book.
Awesome. Well, this was a great interview. It was awesome chatting with you again. You know, getting an update on kind of what you're going through and, you know, what's happening with you. Any final words of wisdom in general for people to leave them in a good place? Because, you know, you've got a good brain and a good heart. So, you know, a lot of people are interested in, you know, your information here today.
I really appreciate you, Jesse. I love you. And I am so honored to be here on your show. And it's really amazing to watch all this magnificent work that you've done. You know, I remember like hanging out with you on video calls and stuff like a few years ago, you know, before you had the missing link. And you had a vision and you created it and you built your own Fifth Earth. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so honored to be able to be on your show and that you would have me as a guest. And thank you for allowing me to talk about my sweet cat and my business and stuff. That's so helpful. And, you know, I just love all of you guys. I thank you all for being here. I have literally the most amazing tribe and community and friends and family. I could not ask for more wonderful, beautiful souls to get to know. And I'm just so grateful to be on this journey with you. And I'm so proud of us. So just keep shining and growing and creating. And we've got this. We're going to outbuild their matrix.
This is our 499th interview. So you're number 499. Trying to enlighten everybody that we can that's willing to listen. There was a comment earlier, and Angeline just said, how can we gift you for the kitty, Lily Kinkade? And then this was Tracy's comment. Please, everyone, if you can donate even $5 each for Amelitha to get the next rounds of IV treatments to get her healed up quickly and clear up her stomach problems and dehydration. Poor life is not out of the woods yet. So how can people, if they want to, be able to just donate, you know, to you and, you know, to the kitty? Is there a way? So Tracy says, can you ask Lily Kinkade PayPal and pin it?
Yes, I'll type it in the chat. Thank you so much, Tracy and Angeline. You guys are amazing. And I was going to mention that and I forgot, and you have saved my life. So Tracy is right. My sweet baby Almathia is not out of the woods yet. She's still very emaciated and very dehydrated. And so she does need more medicine and more vet visits. So if you can keep her in your prayers, I would really appreciate that. And also, I'm typing my PayPal link, and I have PayPal and Venmo.
Make sure you put it in the private chat as well, so then I can post it, you know, because, oh, you did. Okay. To the other sites here.
Thank you guys so much. I really love and appreciate all of your support. It's just, I can't talk enough about how beautiful our community is, you know, and all the amazing, like, I feel like we just walk around being blessings to each other all the time, you know, like it's one of the beautiful things. Like Creator literally uses all of us to bless each other's lives in all of these ways with like a smile or saying something or a hug or a song or just anything, you know, and like this kind of support that we can give to each other is everything. We're everything, guys. You all are everything. All the good things.
And the crazy wild sense of humor that the creator has balances it with this beautiful energy of all of us earth angels here all around that are finding each other, that are connecting with each other, that are supporting each other. And that's what makes this place so magical, you know, and we're so blessed to be here, each and every one of you. Some days maybe better than others, some days maybe a little bit of a struggle, but it is really a big blessing to have breath in this dimension for as long as we can, and to be a part of this experience, you know, whatever you want to call this, what we have going on here. And you know, I, you know, feel totally blessed every single day that I have breath in this magical place we call Earth.
Yes, I can't imagine. Like, I struggled a lot with depression growing up and PTSD and complex PTSD. I had a pretty traumatic childhood, but it's crazy to me, like, that I wasted 33 years. And it wasn't a waste. Like, I'm grateful for it because I learned, but 33 years hating it here, you know, like, because literally every morning I wake up in this RV and I take a deep breath and like that song, What's Going On, I take a deep breath and I look around, but it's so beautiful and it's all magic. And just the fact that like we are able to be here together and experience all of these things together, like that's everything, you know, like it's exactly what we're doing, all the things that we do for, so that we can continue to have all these beautiful experiences and for our children and their children as well. Just love you all so
Awesome.
much.
Well, we love you too, Lily. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey here, and, you know, for helping save that life, for, you know, being a great mom to your kids and to their little animal farm that you got going on. So thanks again for coming here, here on The Missing Link, for interview number 499. So tomorrow we have our milestone 500th interview. I wasn't sure who it was going to be, how it was going to transpire. Reached out to a bunch of people. Not a lot of people responded. So I was just, you know, leaving it up to source. And tomorrow we have, you know, John Paul Rice. He is,
Great.
he's came from Hollywood. When he was 18 or 19, he was in movies. Remember the Titans with Denzel Washington. He found out how deep and dark Hollywood was and is. Started talking about it, kind of got shunned from Hollywood, started making movies about child trafficking and different things that are going on to expose some of the stuff. He's such a beautiful man. He was actually at the very beginning of The Missing Link. He was interview number 2 and number 3. We didn't have enough for the first one, so we had 2 interviews back to back. He was number 2 and number 3. And he's coming tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to share what's been going on with him, about his new movies and his life, and just to hear his story. Definitely a powerful story. He definitely is awake and aware about what's going on, and he's not afraid to share what he sees, what he feels with everyone, just to enlighten people, you know, that's willing to listen. You know, The Missing Link isn't for everybody, but we try to have a little bit of everybody come here on The Missing Link, in order to share any missing links about them or the world around us that they want to share. So Thanks everybody for all your love and support. Appreciate you all. Thank you for all your, likes, comments, heart, shares, and stars. If you do purchase any of the products that we do have listed on the bottom of the promos or on the bottom of each and every single interview, it does help us out. And we'll just keep on doing what we're doing. And now that we're going to hit 500, we're going to be excited to go for 1,000. So that'll be the next milestone. Just over 2 years. It's been 2 years and maybe 3 months, 2 years, 2 months, 2 years, 3 months since we started. 500 interviews. I think that's pretty good. We're doing them a lot more frequently now. So I think it's going to be a lot sooner before we do hit, the 1,000 mark. So thank you all. I really appreciate you, and everybody that's, part of the Missing Link. We like to include people into the comments. We put them up. Some people find some, maybe they don't like it so much, but this is just a part of who we are and what we do. And we try to include you all with your comments, and just, we're all here as one big family, the Missing Link family. We found the Missing Link, and that's each and every single one of you. Is that missing link that makes this world such a beautiful place. So thanks again, Lily, and I'll just post this here.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I love you, my brother.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time we see you. I'm your host, Jesse Howe. Sending love and prayers to all of you to get through these trialing, wild and pivotal times that we're in. And it's
a roller coaster. Hang on.
Roller coaster ride of life. There is a light at the end of the tunnel if you're not already in the light now, and just hang on, because we don't know how much bumpier this ride will get, but we know that there is grace, there is beauty, there is an actual ending, I guess, or a new beginning to this kind of craziness. It is exciting times. So Sylvie, and we'll see you next time we see you on the Missing Link. Bye everyone.
Love you.
Okay. And like Angeline says, the light wins. So we'll see you all next time we see you back on the Missing Link. Bye everyone.